Hello everyone. Today, we'll be seeing how fast Staraptor can beat Pokemon Heartgold in a solo run challenge. Let's get straight into the video. For this week in Pokemon Heartgold, we're going to be playing with Staraptor, and then on Friday, we're going to be playing with the other Route 1 Pokemon of Sinnoh, Bebarrel. So yeah, these two are going to be interesting, but right now we're doing Staraptor. So why don't we figure out what kind of Pokemon we're dealing with. We have 85 HP, 120 attack, 70 defense, 50 special attack, 60 special defense, and 100 speed. We're also in the medium slow level up group, which is pretty much the best growth rate in Generation 4. I mean, technically the erratic growth rate requires less experience to get to 100, but the whole point is that medium slow in the early game is going to let us get tons of levels very quickly, so we're not going to have to do much optional training, but it will slow down later, but hopefully that doesn't matter. And also, 50 special attack is very low, but I want to show you the level up in TM set first before you judge that. We start off with Growl, Quick Attack, Tackle, and Wing Attack. And then at level 13 we get Double Team, which is a very good move. Such a good move, in fact, that I banned the TM for it because otherwise everyone would get access to it. But if it's by level up, I allow it. And then we also get Endeavor, Whirlwind, Aerial Ace, Takedown, Close Combat, Agility, and Brave Bird. I have no idea why they gave Staraptor Close Combat, but it's honestly one of my favorite Route 1 birds just because of that fact. Second, by probably Talonflame, because I really like it when Route 1 birds get coverage that isn't just normal and flying, and I'm really looking forward to using that move. And also, just as expected from a normal flying type, our TM coverage is very limited. We get a bunch of normal and flying moves, but the tiny bit of coverage we do get, we actually get Thief and Steel Wing and U-Turn. U-Turn is probably never going to be used because what this move does is it attacks the opponent and forces you to switch, which would honestly violate the rules of solo runs. So if I wanted to use this, I would have to deposit my HM users. And besides, Bug offensively isn't really the best, but I can definitely see us using Steel Wing later. And if you take a look at our entire moveset, the only special move that we learn is Hidden Power, which we're not going to be using in this run. So our 50 special attack is pretty much meaningless, which is honestly why running an Adamant Nature is pretty much a no-brainer. We're never using our special attack, and we're always using our physical attack. So yeah, Adamant all the way. And our only ability that we can get is Intimidate. I normally don't like this ability in solo challenges because at the first turn of every battle it wastes the text. The Intimidate lowered the opponent's attack, but I'm not kidding. There will be a few fights where Intimidate actually does matter, and I will point that out when we get to it. But for right now, in the early game of Heartgold, it's pretty much just what you'd always expect. You have to get to Mr. Pokemon's house, return to Professor Elm, and then make your way to Violet City. And since the Bellsprout Tower is mandatory in the remakes, I just take advantage of it for free training. And once I'm done with all that, we can go take on the first gym leader, Faulkner. He wishes he had a bird Pokemon this good. Faulkner leads off with his level 9 Pidgey. While doing all the training in the Sprout Tower, I now have Double Team on the moveset, but it's not going to be needed. Wing Attack one-shots the Pidgey, and it two-shots the Pidgeotto. At least he didn't waste his time spamming Roost. And speaking of Roost, this is probably one of the better moves that Staraptor can learn because it'll heal half of our HP, kind of like Recover, but it has another side effect. When you use Roost, for the rest of that turn, you effectively lose your flying typing. Meaning if I use Roost against a Pokemon that uses an electric or ice move, the turn I use Roost, it'll only deal neutral damage because it's kind of like a bird is roosting, it's not flying. So that actually can help defensively in some parts. But right now, I'm not going to teach it because there's only one copy in the entire game. I go ahead into the mart here, buy some repels, get the egg, and then I can make my way down south. If I had gotten Rock Smash near Violet City, I could actually get this little item right here near the center, which is a Shell Bell. I really don't like getting this item, so I just skip it. And luckily, I don't fight any optional trainers inside of the Union Cave because fighting a bunch of Geodudes would still be annoying, but at least we have Double Team. So now in Azalea, we can clear out the Slowpoke well and take on Bugsy. This fight is honestly going to go just as well as Faulkner. Bugsy leads off with his Ace Scyther. I go ahead and use a wing attack and it one-shots. See, I told you this would be easy. And then after that it's just his Metapod and his Kakuna. Let's see if I can one-shot all of them, and I do. So yep, complete and utter one-shot sweep, just as expected. Inside of the Ilex Forest, I actually catch a Zubat for a Fly user. Technically, I can just use the Kenya, the Spearow, for my Fly user, but I actually won't be. When I get the Kenya, I will actually give him to the proper person, and when I do that, he will give me the TM for Rest. That way, I don't have to grind Game Corner coins to get Rest, which costs 6,000 coins. Since I'm going to be giving the Kenya to its rightful owner, I actually do need to catch a Fly user. And it honestly surprised me to hear this, but starting Gen 4, Zubat can learn Fly. I always thought Zubat couldn't and that only Golbat and Crobat could. But hey, this is useful information. And just like most playthroughs in Heartgold, the first thing I do is go to the Game Corner and play some Voltorb Flip. You're not going to be able to see the game because the game takes place on the bottom screen. How this works is to avoid RNG, I allow myself to use save states during the game, so that way I can raise the coins more consistently. So that way some Pokemon won't suffer because they got worse luck at Voltorb Flip. I keep playing this game until I get 16,000 coins, and with these coins I am going to be purchasing a Dratini for Surf and Waterfall and Whirlpool later, and then I buy 3 copies of Substitute, 1 copy of Rest, and the Silk Scarf. I did say I was going to be giving the Kenya to its rightful owner for a Rest, but that'll just be a second copy of Rest. We are going to need a lot of move flexibility in the late game, which is why I'm going to be getting all of these TMs. And now with all of these goodies, I now have Substitute on the Staraptor and the Silk Scarf. So let's go ahead and take on the third gym leader, Whitney. Man, just imagine if I started with close combat at level 1, this would be easy. But right now on the Clefairy, I'm using some double team, and then the Clefairy actually mimics my double team and it tries to set up, so I have to get rid of that thing. Now for the Miltank. I go ahead and just spam wing attack, which is going to be a 3-hit, but I end up critting the second wing attack, so she ended up just being a 2-shot. The reason I used one double team was just in case she was going to use rollout. So hopefully I'll be able to break the chain if she decided to do that, but she never did. And now I can head north to the national park. But I want to show this off. I accidentally fought Juggler Irwin and his Voltorb paralyzed me. And instead of going back to heal, I go to this PC right here inside this building and I deposit and withdraw. Because in the older games starting in Gen 3, when you deposit in the PC it heals your Pokemon. So yeah, that was a neat little time I got to do that. And then I skipped getting the TM for Dig because I bought enough escape ropes in Azalea Town to where I don't need to teach something Dig. Then I can chase away the Pseudo-Widow Tree. And then I talk to this guy right here to get the HM for Rock Smash. And before I continue going north, I go to this guy right here, give this guy the Kenya, and then guess what? I can get another copy of Rest. So yeah, both of these TMs will come in handy. And also, if you see me moving around in the overworld and my moveset constantly flickering, you're gonna have to ignore that because the Gen 4 games are coded with a lot of dynamic memory, which basically means that the code likes to move around all the time, and it can lead to stuff like this. The software does try to take this into account, but sometimes it's not perfect. I mean, in some places it's really bad. But that doesn't matter though. I can teach Rock Smash to one of my HM users, and then I can smash this rock right here and get myself a rare candy. Nice. And then before I can enter Ecruteak City, I have to take on these two beauties right here. Something I've been trying to do is deposit my HM users so that way I don't have to fight these people both at once. And this fight does end up being a little bit scary, but fortunately I really don't have any problems here, thanks to Substitute. Now that we are in Ecruteak City, I can get the HM for Surf, as well as one of many rare candies. And then inside the burned tower, we have to take on the rival. I didn't show off the rival fight in Azalea Town, but that was mainly just because I forgot and it was uneventful. But here's the thing, if you have Substitute for this fight, which most Pokemon are gonna get, it just completely negates this Ghastly. And it's also gonna help with Morty too. Substitute is honestly, at this point in the game, far more broken than Double Team. It's honestly kind of funny, and I know some people will say, oh, you gotta ban Substitute. I don't listen to those people, because here's the thing, if you keep telling me to ban this one move because it's too good, I'm just gonna end up finding another good move or item, and you'll tell me to ban that too. And then eventually, I'll only be allowed to use level up moves, because at some point, TMs will be broken. So yeah, I just stick to the basics like banning the TM for Double Team. So for example, like if I wanted Double Team back on Staraptor, I have to go to the move relearner. I'm not allowed to use the TM. Anyway, let's go take on Morty. I start off right away by using Aerial Ace on the Ghastly. This was actually a mistake. I should have used a Substitute for safety, but I thought maybe Aerial Ace would one-shot everything, and it sorta does. It one-shots everything except for the Gengar. I guess this thing specifically didn't need it, but I decided to use it on the Haunter anyway, just in case, but it probably didn't even matter at that point. So yep, 4 badges down, and the 5th one, Chuck, is going to be even easier. And then when I get to Olivine City, it may look like I'm doing something very stupid, because I'm catching a Krabby when I already have a Dratini. But I'm not using this for HM usage. Axew actually told me, in this city, there is a guy who wants a Krabby for a Voltorb. And guess what? The Voltorb is holding a Cherry Berry. This will be very useful for either Jasmine or Lance or whoever I choose to use it on, because before my only way of getting a Cherry Berry was finding a Red Shard. But now, I can easily get a consistent Cherry Berry. So yeah, this is very useful information to know, and if you ever need one in your runs, just get the Good Rod and catch a Krabby. I then clear out all the trainers inside of the lighthouse, and then all the trainers along the Whirl Islands. I am going to have to backtrack here later to get 2 rare candies in the late game, and I may as well just fight all these trainers along the way. I mean, it's really not a time waste. There's actually one guy with 2 Gyarados. And then, while training on the water, I have the opportunity to learn Takedown. I actually choose not to. I mean, it's a better move than Quick Attack, but I'm going to be getting returns soon anyway, so it probably doesn't even matter. Anyways, we are now in Cianwood City, and we've got a gym leader to defeat. Let's do this, Chuck. He leads off with Primeape. I use 1 Double Team and then knock out his Primeape. Then on the Poliwrath, I end up one-shotting it with Aerial Ace. Dude, this thing is an absolute powerhouse. I am really not needing Double Team that much, honestly. I theoretically didn't even need Substitute. I could have just one-shot that Ghastly on the rival's team. But oh well though, I'll need Substitute for later fights anyway. And now with 5 badges obtained, I can either go fight Jasmine right away or go take on Bryce. I am obviously not taking on Jasmine right now, so right now I'm going to head towards the Lake of Rage and do the whole Team Rocket Mahogany Town section. This whole place in general is just very uneventful. There is the TM for Thief here if I need it, but I am pretty sure I'm not going to need it. But I think I'll get it just in case. It's not really that out of the way, just up 1 set of stairs. And now with the whole Rocket Hideout section done, we can go take on the 7th gym leader, or in our case the 6th gym leader, Price. But before I play his intro, I want to show you a neat little trick for this last room right here. If you push this ice block to the right here, you notice how I'm perfectly perpendicular to the trainer right above me. Normally, most people would default just keep moving right then go up, and that requires you to fight that trainer. But if you just stay in place and go up, you can actually skip this person. Alright, now let's go fight Price. He leads off with Seal. I go ahead and use Substitute just in case he would use Icy Wind. And now behind the Substitute, I'm going to set up 1 or 2 double teams, in this case just 1 double team. Then I can one-shot the Seal with Aerial Ace and one-shot the Dewgong with Close Combat. which I just learned recently by Level Up, and I can continue using this move on the Pillow Swine. And now we have the price badge, and then immediately we can go take on Jasmine. I'm not even going to equip the Cherry Berry for this fight, I'm going to be saving that. Because right now, Thunder Wave just completely blocks Substitute, but I can only get up one double team before the Magnemite uses Thunderbolt to break my Substitute. So now I'm just going to have to go for the offense. I knock out the Magnemites, and then on the Steelix, I continue to use Close Combat. It does around health, she heals with a Citrus Berry, I get hit with Screech, and then it hits me with Iron Tail, and at -5 defense. Oh man, it just completely devastated Staraptor. And there is its first reset. This time, I'm able to keep my Substitute up, and I have 2 double teams. So now, Screech won't do anything, and if it hits me with Iron Tail, at least I have the Substitute as a backup. But on the first turn, I accidentally use Aerial Ace. But honestly, now that I think about it, it may have been a good idea that I did that. So that way, the Citrus Berry won't heal it out of a 2-shot range with Close Combat. Plus, it avoids her from being in a Hyper Potion range, so honestly, that Aerial Ace was actually pretty decent. And now, with 7 badges, we get that dreaded phone call. Hey, you gotta clear out the radio tower, because apparently I'm the only one who can do it. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do all this stuff. But before I do that though, I can surf down right here, get myself a nugget and a rare candy. And then, before I go into the radio tower, I need to go inside the department store and do some shopping. First things first, I go to the 4th floor where I can buy some vitamins. And today's vitamin of the day is 6 protein. Protein is pretty much the only stat I'm gonna need. We have more than enough speed to outspeed the late game foes, so protein's all we really need. And then on the 5th floor, since our friendship is high enough, I can go ahead and get the TM for return. This is gonna be my most powerful move. With the same type attack bonus return and the Silk Scarf, assuming we're at maximum friendship, which we're not yet, but we'll get there. Assuming we're at max friendship with the same type attack bonus and Silk Scarf, against a neutral target, return is going to have an effective power of 183. That is insane. And here's the thing, let's just assume the opponent is resisted to normal moves, right? Let's say we're fighting a rock type. It'll still have an effective power of 91, so it'll still probably be my best move. Well, Close Combat will be, but you know what I mean. Anyway, the whole radio tower section's pretty boring, no one cares about this, so we're honestly just gonna skip straight ahead to not Blackthorn City, but to Dark Cave. You see what happened? I arrived in Blackthorn, and then I realized I completely forgot to catch a Geodude. Because I need a Geodude for Strength and Rock Climb later. I meant to catch one in the Union Cave, but I forgot. So I went back here and caught one. And now with this Geodude, I can actually push all the boulders in the Ice Cave and get to Blackthorn City. So yeah, that was just a huge embarrassing time loss. But believe it or not, this was actually my second playthrough with Staraptor. I had to do 2 playthroughs because the first playthrough, I really screwed up on the round 2 Lance fight. And I got like 50 resets or something like that. So I realized, yeah, this isn't gonna slide with me, I need to do this again. So we'll see if my time is way better than the last time. Anyway, let's go take on Claire. Claire leads off with Gyarados. She hits me with Intimidate, but I hit her with Intimidate as well, which honestly doesn't really matter that much. She's just spamming Dragon Rage. But here's the thing, even with Intimidate, Return is still doing very devastating damage. It almost one-shots Gyarados. Then the Dragonair gets one-shot by Return. I get to level 47. The second Dragonair is a one-shot with Return, and the Kingdra will probably be a two-shot like everything else. Unless I get a critical hit. Yeah, even with Intimidate, I still completely destroyed her. I one-shot 3 of her 4 Pokemon. I mean, just ignore the fact that one of them was a crit, just it looks more impressive that way. Anyway, we need to go in the Dragon's Den, solve this little quiz, and then we can get the badge from Claire. I used to have to go to the entrance of this cave, get the TM from Claire, and then backtrack to get the Dratini. But if I'm grinding at the game corner for substitute anyway, may as well just buy the Dratini there. I actually learned that strat from Scott's Thoughts. I actually helped him with a lot of Heartgold planning. Me and Exceptional helped him out a lot. And I actually learned this trick from him specifically. He just came up with it on his own. So yeah, I'll definitely be stealing that. And then before we take on the league, we got to take on the Kimono Sisters. Fortunately, not one of them is difficult at all, although this gauntlet can honestly be more difficult than the Elite Four sometimes, because you have to fight 5 evolutions in a row without healing between, and the evolutions are actually kind of decent, and they are a high level at this point in the game, almost the same level as Kingdra. Then I can climb the Bell Tower, run away from the Ho-Oh like a little bitch, and then we can head our way into Kanto. And before we take on the league, we need to take on the rival in here as well. And I make a very huge mistake in this fight because I forget to heal my paralysis from a previous trainer that had a Flaffy, and because of this, I'm moving second against most of his Pokemon, and then the Typhlosion is able to defeat me with Swift. Yeah, it's a good thing I saved here, but I really should have healed that paralysis. Oops. Once I do heal it though, I just completely lay waste to this guy. And now we are at the Pokemon League. I go ahead and heal at the center, buy some full restores, and now we need to take on the final 5 trainers of Johto. Let's do this shit. First up is the Psychic type user Will. I go ahead and use 1 double team and then 2 double teams, but unfortunately I get hit with Confuse Ray, which ends up doing half of my health, but that's fine though. I can one-shot the Xatu, then the Jinx, and then I can Aerial Ace the Exeggutor for the one-shot, and then on the Slowbro I go ahead and use Return, and it doesn't end up one-shotting, but I kinda expected that. That thing is surprisingly bulky. And then the Xatu is a one-shot with Return as well. Next up is the Poison type Elite Four member, Koga. I start off on the Ariados by using 2 double teams, and then I can use Return on it. Then I have to close combat the Fortress 2 separate times, and now my defense stats are kinda low, but that's the reason I used the double teams. But it probably didn't matter that much, because I one-shot the Muck, and I almost one-shot the Crobat, but he just wasted his 1 turn with his own double team, and then the Venomoth is destroyed as well. Next up is the Fighting type Elite Four member, Bruno. Here is a little thing you gotta remember. This Hitmontop has counter, and he really likes using it all the time. And here's the little fun fact. Counter has a chance of missing through double teams. It can't skip accuracy checks in this game. So I use some double teams for safety, and then I'm able to one-shot it with Aerial Ace. And I continue using Aerial Ace on his fighting types, and then for his Onix, this is what I have close combat for. But I do need to be careful on the Machamp though, because the Machamp does have no guard, which completely ignores evasion strats, but I one-shot it anyway. Bruno was easy. Next up is the Dark type Elite Four member, Karen. On the Umbreon, this thing loves surviving hits. I go ahead and use a couple of double teams for safety for the rest of the fight, and then what I want to do is I have 2 uses of close combat left, and then unfortunately they both miss on the Umbreon, but that's fine though. I have Aerial Ace which ignores accuracy checks, so I can just use Aerial Ace to defeat the Umbreon. And then on the Houndoom, I use Aerial Ace and it lives. That was a mistake. I should have switched back to Return. I don't know why I was spamming Aerial Ace. Then on the Gengar, I have to keep using it. It does hit me with Spite getting rid of some PP, but Aerial Ace has a ton of power points, I'm fine. Then the Vileplume and the Murkrow are easy with Aerial Ace. Yep, this thing so far only had 2 resets. One of them was on Jasmine, and the other one was on the Rival and Victory Road, which was honestly completely avoidable. And now, we've got to go take on Lance. Let's see how Staraptor fares against the flying type specialist. I used a bunch of rare candies before this fight to get Staraptor to level 66, and now I have to set up some double teams. And this is one of the few fights where Intimidate actually does help me, because the Gyarados' Ice Fang is doing barely any damage. Yeah, I'm really glad to see Intimidate getting some use. Does it make up though for all the wasted text? Probably not, but I'll take whatever advantage I can get. He does end up swapping out of Gyarados at some point to the Aerodactyl, and I end up resetting because I am running very low on PP because I forget to use a Max Elixir like an idiot. Oops. Anyway though, on the Gyarados, I get back to 6 double teams, and then I continue just destroying his team, but then his level 49 Dragonite, against all odds, hit me with a Thunder, and I end up losing. Wow, this thing must be related to Red's Pikachu from Gen 2. That thing never misses Thunder. But then on the 3rd attempt, his level 50 Dragonite actually hit me with Fire Blast. Dude, you are really not letting me win today, my gosh. It takes me until 6 resets into the run to actually defeat Lance, because even with double team strats, things can still go quite wrong. But still, having the Intimidate on the Gyarados making him do less damage honestly prevented the need for me needing to teach Rest for this fight. And now that we've defeated Lance, we need to go through the entire Kanto section of the game, and then we gotta go rematch the Elite Four that Lance to battle in round 2, which is honestly the most difficult battle in the game, way more difficult than Red actually. And the whole round 2 Lance fight was what made me do a second run because my first strat was so bad. However though, since the Kanto section's pretty bloated, I generally like to fade out to the last difficult gym leader, which is Blue, unless another one provides a challenge or I have to do something interesting. So if nothing interesting happens, I will see you all at the Blue fight. And something interesting is happening, but not for the reason you might think. I need to show off something very, very interesting that Axew Kairisora helped me figure out with Blaine. We're going to be doing something very incredible for him, and this was the reason I got Thief. I was questioning if it was going to be useful or not, but this is to put y'all in suspense. Check out what I'm going to do. Roll the intro. Here's the thing with Blaine. All 3 of his Pokemon have Overheat and a White Herb. It's kind of like Flannery's Torkoal from Pokemon Emerald. My plan is to actually thief one of those White Herbs, and I can take it with me outside of battle, because this White Herb is going to be used for Lance. This was the solution I needed to deal with that fight. However though, I cannot use close combat this whole fight, because if you have any stat deductions when you thief a White Herb, it will automatically consume it. I did not know this. I thought White Herbs only consumed when a stat lowered while you were holding it. But if you have one on you and you thief a White Herb, it gets rid of it. So I needed to be real careful here. And it only takes me around 2 resets where I can actually leave the fight with my own White Herb. But I am able to defeat Blaine and have a White Herb. So yeah, this will be very useful. And believe it or not, this is the only way to get White Herbs without the Battle Frontier. So any Pokemon that knows Thief can actually get one from Blaine if I needed to use one against Lance, just because his lead Salamence has Intimidate. So this will be useful to know for future playthroughs. Anyway, nothing else really interesting happened to any of the other gym leaders, so now we are going to go take on Blue. Blue leads off with his Exeggutor. Right away, I start off by setting up some double teams, and the Exeggutor sets up Trick Room, so now he is outspeeding me. But that's fine though, I can just stall with double team and substitute until the Trick Room goes away, and then I can almost one-shot it with Return. I don't have Aerial Ace anymore, because of move constraints, I couldn't really have it on the moveset because I needed substitute for this fight specifically. But that's fine though, I can just two-shot it with Return. And I have to hold on to close combat, obviously for the Rhydon. But here's the thing now, I have leftovers which I stole from the Snorlax because I caught it with a Master Ball. I have it to just slowly get my HP back, and then honestly there's really not much of a risk to this fight outside of the Exeggutor. And here's another fun fact, this guy's Pidgeot has Return, but it has the default friendship that a Pidgeot normally has, which I believe is 70. So his Return is not even that good, which is kind of funny. And now, with all 16 Kanto badges, we gotta go rematch the Elite Four. Before I enter though, I actually deposit all my HM users because Lance's Garchomp has Roar, and if I'm setting up double team and it hits me with Roar, that's going to completely destroy my whole strategy, and Substitute does not block Roar. And here's the thing, we are now going to be starting on Will. Will is honestly a lot harder here because he chooses to replace his lead with a Bronzong. It's a good thing it doesn't have Levitate if I ever run an Earthquake user, but it is so annoying that this thing has Reflect specifically. Like, why can't this thing have Light Screen? So this thing actually takes me quite a while to knock out. But once I do though, the rest of his team is very easy. Which is what I would say if the Jinx didn't survive a return and knocked me out with Blizzard. But that's fine though, since I deposited all my Pokemon, I instead just take the Blackout. And I do forget to update my Blackout counter during this, but at 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 45 seconds, I am at 3 Blackouts so far against Will. Because I still need some more levels to deal with Red, so using this opportunity to Blackout train is going to be quite nice. I continue the Blackout training until I get to Will at level 83. This is all the Blackout training I'm going to need, so now I can take on the rest of the Elite Four seriously this time. Koga's Skuntank is actually a very easy setup target, especially with Substitute because he can't hit me with Toxic. So then I can defeat his whole team and move on to Bruno. The Hitmontop here is just like the round 1 Hitmontop. This thing loves spamming counter, but it does like to use close combat every now and then, which honestly kinda helps him with counter strats because it lowers his defense, which makes physical moves do more, and he could potentially counter a lot more. But I'm still going to be setting up more double teams though, because this guy right here is still very scary. I need to make sure I can deal with the rest of his team, but once I get past the Machamp Snow Guard, the whole rest of his team's honestly pretty easy. Honestly, I may have over-prepared with the double teams, but that's fine though. This is Heartgold version. You gotta play a little safe sometimes. Karen though, I would honestly say is most of the time easier than her round 1 counterpart, just because she doesn't lead with the Umbreon, but Weavile for this run specifically is actually very scary because of Ice Punch. At this point, we deleted Return and replaced it with Pluck. The TM for Pluck is actually just north of the Whirl Islands on a little island. It's very easy to get, I got it a lot earlier in the playthrough. This gives me a move that can hit all of our Pokemon, including the Spiritomb, which was very important. But then I can use Close Combat on the Weavile, and then on the Honchkrow, I go ahead and use Pluck for the 2-shot. And looking at this thing's moveset, it's kind of funny it has Super Luck, but not any high crit moves, which is honestly kind of funny. Then on the Houndoom, I use Pluck for the 1-shot, get to level 85, and then on the Spiritomb, I should have used Substitute because now the Spiritomb has hit me with Curse. But this is fine though, I can just use Close Combat to 1-shot the Umbreon, take a bit of Curse damage, and then I can just Close Combat the Absol. So honestly, it didn't even matter that it hit me with Curse. But hey, the Absol had Super Luck and Night Slash, so see, that's how you do Super Luck strats. Anyway, now we need to go take on round 2 Lance. This is going to be the fight of all fights. Let's do this. My moveset here is Return, Roost, Double Team, and Substitute, and I'm holding the leftovers. I have no idea why I was holding the leftovers. Now that I look back, I think what happened was I forgot to equip them, and now I'm going to need some luck with these double teams here, because what I was supposed to do was equip the White Herb, so that way I don't have Intimidate lowering my attack, and a bunch of Lance's Pokemon would have actually been serious one-shots. But I get stupidly lucky, including getting a critical hit on the Altaria and on the Charizard, both in a row. I literally iked my way through this whole fight right here. For those of you wondering what that phrase means, you gotta look at our red and blue backboard streams with Ike the Killer. You'll understand what that means. Anyway, now that we've defeated Lance without the White Herb, which honestly seemed like a waste of time, but I just got stupidly lucky. Now we gotta go take on the final boss of Heartgold, Red. My moveset is still the exact same for Red as it was for Lance, same held item leftovers and everything. I go ahead and use one double team, and then Volt Tackle almost one-shot me. Fortunately, I lived at 7 HP, but then I get hit with Quick Attack for a quick reset. I get another reset here on the Pikachu, but what I ended up deciding to do was just go for Return right away and just reset if I get hit with Static. And now, instead of Close Combat, I have the move Attract. I'm going to be using this move on the Lapras here to be able to set up more double teams, so that way I can hopefully knock out the rest of his team without being hit too much. And the Lapras actually hit me with a Blizzard, and there's Diamond Dust up here right now. There's not even any hail for him to skip accuracy checks. So yeah, he just got really lucky. I guess this is what I get for having an easy Lance fight. I also get another reset on Red's Venusaur, which was his last Pokemon, because it actually hit me with Sludge Bomb. Then on my winning attempt at 15 resets in, the Charizard actually burned me, but fortunately, our attack stat is just so great, plus we have Roost for the healing. The Venusaur isn't really able to do anything to me because it can't hit me through these double teams, and then while burned, I get to level 87 and Red is defeated, with a real time of 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 16 seconds, with 15 resets and 5 blackouts at level 87, with a game time of 7 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah, this run ended up being really good, but there were definitely a lot of problems here. Like honestly, I did not really need to grind for a second copy of Rest. I think one copy was enough, plus I don't really remember if I used it at all. Plus, I forget to use the White Herb, but I just got stupidly lucky. I think if I were to do a third run of this at some point, I could get a much better time with far fewer resets. However though, this was a much better playthrough result than my first playthrough, which I never even completed because I had like 50 or so resets on round 2 Lance. And the main reason for that was because I untaught Return, which ended up being a massive problem. But anyway, if we take a look on the leaderboard, we actually got 5th place overall. We were 12 minutes slower than Gallade, which also had access to Double Team by Level Up, and it was 4 minutes faster than Charizard, and Charizard had 51 resets, even though this was my second playthrough. I don't remember if that was because of a difference in experience back then, or if there was just a really bad fight. Honestly, I think I just had to deal with a lot of Rock-type users. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this run. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more, and be sure to follow me on my socials or support me through YouTube memberships. YouTube members get access to these videos early and patch files to all the backports we do on stream. Anyway, on Friday we will be playing through Pokemon Heartgold on stream with Bibarel, and then on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday we will be playing Heartgold with a random Pokemon. Anyway, I will see you all then. Have a great day.